All right, so today's video, as you can tell by the title, this is going to be going over barbell lifts versus machine lifts, cables, dumbbells, etc. This video, I'm a little bit fired up, and I know it's tough to tell because of how monotone I am. But what I want to talk about today is something that I think is a fundamental foundation to my lifting philosophy. And this is something I've touched on in the past for sure, but I've never made my own dedicated video to this topic itself. And I think it's going to be super valuable for a lot of you guys. So if there's any video on my channel that you're actually going to watch from start to finish, I highly recommend it's this one. Please just watch the full thing. It's not going to be quite a rant, but I do want to go into a little bit of my philosophy and overall just the way I feel about lifting and the fucking dogma that's out there with all this barbell stuff. So I want to dive into a couple different things, but in general, this video is going to be why lifters get better results with barbells. And this isn't just to go say like, oh, go just use barbells only to get your training and train like a power lifter, because obviously I don't believe that. But there's a major issue in the fitness industry and the way that people train that can all be completely avoided. And what I want to start this off with is basically just saying, like, I walk the walk. And obviously I talk a lot on this channel, but I walk the walk too. Reference my physique update from Thursday. Like, watch that video, look at the muscle I've built, look at the physique I've built with average genetics, 100% naturally in my early 20s, like using this kind of stuff. Like, there's a reason why I talk this stuff on the channel. It's not just because I want to have like these fancy new ideas. It's because I know what works, and somebody has to actually have the balls to say it, and I'm that person right now. So basically, what I want to start this off with is what the barbell lifters do well. This video is going to be about two different types of people and what we can take from each type of lifter. So for the first one I want to dive into is going to be the barbell lifters and what they do well, because obviously they do a lot of things well, and that's why in general the barbell lifters have gotten better results. It's not from the barbell though, and I know it seems a little crazy that I'm saying that, but let me dive into a couple points here. So the reason why people get better results from barbells is because they have blind faith in it. There's a lot of dogma. There's literally a God complex surrounding barbell lifts, and there's a few different reasons for that. It's a social thing. That's ultimately what it all comes down to. It's standardized, barbells are universal. You can compare yourself to everybody, and ultimately with that, the standards are higher. And with us being social creatures, it's pretty easy to have like a standard lift that we all have access to just have the highest standards and most accessibility. So people get very good results from training this way. The issue with this is it's not the barbell. It's not the barbell that's giving you the results. It's the mindset. It's the approach that you take to the barbell lifts. It has nothing to do, not that it has nothing to do with the barbell, because obviously there's a lot of great lifts you can do with the barbell, 100%. But I don't think that they're the best for hypertrophy in the general sense. I think they're a good option for sure, and I think there are a lot of good barbell lifts. But the standard squat, bench, deadlift, not the best for hypertrophy. There are better variations out there, and I'm not afraid to say that because it's the truth in my opinion. So with all that being said, at first glance, it seems like it's the lift that gives you the results, but it's the standards from the barbell. It's the social aspect. It's the standards that we have out there. People train barbells harder than they train their other lifts. There's no science to prove that, but please take a look at the gym that you train at. Take a look at the people you see on the internet, the people that have YouTube channels, TikTok, Instagram, all this kind of stuff. Nobody besides like myself and a couple other people take non-barbell lifts seriously. It's not the barbell, it's the effort. People actually try and program and put all of their focus and effort onto barbell lifts, and they half-ass the rest of their training, and that's why people think that you don't get results or as good results from machines. If you have the same mindset and approach and programming with a machine lift as you do a barbell, you're going to get the same results. I'd argue long-term for most lifters, the machine will give you better results in terms of hypertrophy. Will you build as much strength? Probably not. But that's not what we're after on this channel. We're after bodybuilding. And I don't want a strength-infected mindset to take over what I'm trying to say here. I'm talking about building muscle in a long term naturally. I do think that there are better lifts, whether it's a certain barbell lift or dumbbell lift where you're at more of a mechanical disadvantage, like RDLs or stiff leg deadlifts. It doesn't really matter which one you do. You can use less weight and get more direct work to your glutes and hamstrings than a conventional deadlift. That's a better lift. A hack squat, a lot of the time, is going to be better than a barbell squat or even like a low bar squat for building up your quads. You can overload forever as long as you need to, just like a barbell squat, but it biases the knee flexion a little bit more than a squat does because it supports your hips. I'm going to say it, I think hack squats are better than squats for hypertrophy. Am I saying not to do squats? No, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the hack squat. Is it close? Yeah, it's very close. But I think overall, even if you build the same amount of muscle on both, the hack squat biases the quads a little more, so I would say it builds more muscle. Even if it's 2% more, hack squat builds more muscle, less fatiguing, and it's more fun. It's a bodybuilding movement. Hack squats are great. If you're a bodybuilder with the bodybuilder mindset, hack squats are better, my opinion. If you prefer barbell squats over hack squats and you'll apply more effort to the barbell squat, that's probably the better movement for you. It's the mindset. It is not the lift. When a record is broken, everyone else follows soon after. When standards are elevated, the same thing happens. I'm trying to do this with non-barbell lifts. And I'm not saying only machines or only cables. I'm saying anything outside of the big three or the general more common barbell lifts that you see. It's the standards, guys. We have to up the standards. We're not even ready to have higher standards with non-barbell lifts or non-big three lifts, whatever one you want to take. Like, we don't even have effort on those other lifts. I feel alone in this. Like, I'm not trying to start like a new trend, but I'm trying to say like there's a lot more out there in terms of bodybuilding movements. And I'm going to get into my second point on this in a little bit about the non-barbell lifters and why a lot of them actually don't get results. But guys, it's the standards. And before we can even get into standards, we have to actually apply effort first. Like, we're not even at that point yet. I mean, I don't even know where we're going to start on this one, but if we can create a generation of lifters that takes non-barbell lifts seriously and actually pushes them hard and puts effort into those lifts and learns how to program them and learns how to train them and use the best technique and actually put effort and apply effort to those lifts, the standards will come. People will start to up those standards once more people see that this is a great way to train for bodybuilding. And for me personally, this is the best way to train. I'm not saying there's any lift that's dangerous or bad or that you should totally avoid. Like, if you like barbell lifts in the big three, it's totally fine to use those lifts, 100%. But there's a lot else out there that gets completely overlooked for literally no reason outside of low standards, low effort, and the lack of a social stigma around those lifts. There's no God complex or dogma around non-barbell compound lifts. 100%, I'm just going to say it. It's the truth. So what I want to do is say, let me talk the talk, and I'm going to walk the walk on this channel. I'm going to show you guys how I do these lifts and how I built muscle from all these lifts, and show you the effort and the thought and the mindfulness that I actually put into my training, my programming, and really everything. And I want to start a new movement where people actually apply effort to these lifts. We'll start to create the baseline of our standards, and then from there, we're going to keep innovating. We're going to keep getting better. The standards are going to be set higher, and I think natural bodybuilding will improve overall once we can actually do this. So right now, in 2022, this is unpopular. I feel like I'm the first person and the only person talking about this, but I think if we can create a generation of lifters that applies the same effort and mindset and mindfulness in their programming to these non-barbell lifts, whether you do barbell lifts or not, the rest of your program, if you can apply that mindset, your results are going to be way better than everybody else that just power builds and takes the squat, bench, deadlift seriously and completely fucking half-asses the rest of their training. It's the truth, guys. So I don't just want to talk about the barbell lifters. So overall, to summarize, the barbell lifters, they have a much better approach to training in terms of effort. They care more. They're not afraid to get uncomfortable. Barbells are uncomfortable. That's the good thing about them. But you don't need a barbell to teach you that. You just have to understand that building muscles tough. It's hard. Like, you have to really push yourself. You don't need the barbell, though, to do that. It's all up here. It's in your mindset. So barbell lifters, the reason they get better results is because those people that lift with barbells aren't afraid to get uncomfortable. They're not afraid to like get in the dirty areas and grow. They're not afraid to push themselves and have a little bit of fatigue. Like, yeah, I'm a huge advocate of having a lower fatigue compared to stimulus, but overall, like, there's going to be some type of fatigue, whether it's an isolation or a machine. If you're pushing it hard, yeah, there's going to be a little fatigue that builds up. Don't be afraid of that. But what I am trying to say is these people that lift with barbells, they train hard and they put a little bit more thought into their programming. The problem is we're confusing that with the lift itself. It's not the lift, it's their approach to that lift, if that makes sense. Take that approach that they have, apply it to lifts that are better for you. Maybe it is a barbell, maybe it's a machine, maybe it's a dumbbell. It doesn't matter. Pick the lift that's best for you, that you enjoy. Crush it with that mindset. The rest of your training, do the same exact thing, and that's the recipe for success with natural bodybuilding. So I want to compliment barbell lifters on that. I don't hate barbell lifters. I hate the way that we view barbells as being better than everything else, because it's just not true. To dive into the non-barbell lifters, it's the guy, okay, so this is basically the fake natties that you see on TikTok, Instagram, and whatnot, the guys that like pinch the plates and do this, or like take the tables and do some of these. Like, you know what I'm talking about here. It's not the lift that's wrong. This lift and this lift, yes, those are 100% wrong. I'm definitely not an advocate of those. But like a plate-loaded machine press or a plate-loaded machine row, guys, people shit on these lifts all the time for no reason. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. They're like, oh, that lift isn't fatiguing enough. You're not going to build muscle. I'm like, since when does systemic fatigue have to do with building muscle? It's all local fatigue. Like, that argument doesn't make sense. I'm not even going to try and logically debunk that, because I don't even need to. I hate to just dismiss arguments like that, but that doesn't make any sense, aside from maybe something to do with work capacity, but that's a tiny little detail, and there's a lot of other ways to build work capacity too, other than just barbell lifts. But a lot of these lifters that you see on TikTok, Instagram, or even just go into your regular commercial gym, the guys that like just do the same exact routine every time, they'll go and do like a fluff and pump set of tricep push downs, like literally 20 reps shy of failure. People say, oh, well, the guys that are afraid to do the barbells, that just do the machines and cables and dumbbells, like they never get big. Like, no shit. It's not the lift, it's their approach. They're afraid to push a set hard. It's not the lift. Don't confuse it with that machine they're using or the cable push down they're using. Confuse it with their lazy effort. They take 400 milligrams of caffeine and like SARMs and half-ass their training. It's the stupidest thing. It's completely backwards. The reason why they don't get results isn't because the lifts most of the time. Obviously, there's a lot of like fluff and pump, just clickbait lifts that you'll see. But it's their mindset. It's their effort. They don't fucking try in their training, and that's the problem. It's not the lift. So what I want to do here is, let me just dive into a couple points, and I want to go a little bit further on this one. So non-barbell lifters, it's the soft mindset. It's not the lifts most of the time. I'm going against the grain and the evidence we have. I recognize this opinion is unpopular, and I'm the first one to really talk about this to my knowledge, but I'm 100% confident in my opinion here. I talk the talk and I walk the walk. And not to like brag or anything. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but like look at my physique update. I'm not posting that just to say look how jacked I am. Like, I wear a flannel on the channel to hide my physique, so you listen to me and you don't just look at me and watch my videos for my physique. Like, I cover everything up. But look at that clip. It's a 30-second clip. Like, I've built a lot of muscle. I used to be the skinniest little kid. I was 150 pounds, 5'10". Like, I don't know, guys. This is turning into a little bit of a rant, but this stuff just fires me up. Yeah, I mean, basically what I'm trying to say here is this is an unpopular opinion, but I'm so confident in it, and I feel like I'm that happy medium because I actually care about my training, and I think about I think about my programming, but I don't just follow the crowd. Like, I don't just go do barbells because everyone else does and the standards are high. Like, I took that intense focused, self-driven mindset and applied it to everything else in my training and got better results than I'd say most people in less time. Like I don't know, no point in going into that. But basically what I'm saying here to finish up the machine lifters point is that machine lifters are avoiding hard work and getting uncomfortable. The exercise selection typically isn't the issue. Are 10% of their lifts bullshit? Yes, there's some dumb lifts they do, but you can't tell me it's the lift most of the time. It's the effort. It's the half-ass mindset. They're afraid to touch a barbell because they'll have to compare themselves to others at that point. Like when you touch a barbell and you have someone that's been lifting for 6 years and they're benching like 125, that's a problem, and they don't want to see that within themselves. So they stick to what they're comfortable with, and they stick to these obscure lifts, machines, cables, where nobody really compares, or basically there's no standards at all, which I talked about earlier. And they're just in their own little comfort zone doing a little fluff and pump. Not the lifts, it's the effort and it's the mindset that they apply to those lifts. I do want to leave you guys with a little bit of a takeaway and a little bit of a solution. And ultimately, the takeaway from the barbell lifters is the effort and the willingness to get uncomfortable. We need to take that and disperse it out to the rest of our training. I'm telling you guys, I'm speaking from the heart here, as you can tell. Like, this stuff is what I'm passionate about. This is why I started my channel. Now that there's a little bit more of an audience on this channel, I want you guys to start thinking about this stuff. Take it a little bit more seriously. I don't want to keep ranting on forever, so I'm going to end it at that. But if you guys have any questions or can relate to this, whether you agree or disagree, leave something in the comments. I'm happy to get back to you and take a look. So thanks for watching.